In this problem, we know that these three segments, segment BE, CF, and AD, all intersect at point Z. And we're also given these two angles, that angle BZA is 25 degrees and angle FZE is 51 degrees. And we are asked to find the measure of angle CZE. So first things first, you want to identify the angle that you're trying to find the measure of. So that's this guy. Now notice that CZE is actually made up of two smaller angles. So you have CZD, which is this guy in blue, and that's combined with angle DZE here in green. So one way that we could do this problem is we could try to find the blue angle and the green angle separately and then add their measures together, and that would give us the measure of angle CZE. In fact, one of those is pretty easy to find as it is because we have vertical angles in this diagram. Now, vertical angles are two angles that are formed by intersecting lines that are directly across from each other. Now, the key thing to remember here is that they have to be formed by two lines that intersect and go all the way through. So for example, something like this might look like vertical angles because technically they are sort of opposite each other, but these two angles are not formed by intersecting lines. You've got a line here and then this guy kind of bounces off that line. So this is not an example of vertical angles. This guy is. It's two angles that are directly opposite each other with those intersecting lines. So with that said, we can see a lot of examples of vertical angles here in this diagram. We see first off, this 25-degree angle AZB is directly across from this angle here, angle DZE. So the other thing you need to know about vertical angles is they are always congruent. This is so useful in geometry. So whenever you see vertical angles, you know that if one angle has a certain measure, the other angle has the same measure. They're equal. So this angle DZE over here is also 25 degrees. So I always just label what I know. So I'm going to mark these two angles as congruent or equal, and I'm going to label angle DZE as 25 degrees. Now we also see vertical angles here with FZE being vertical angles with BZC across from it. So we'll give it two little curves to set them apart. So once again, if one of those angles is 51 degrees, then the other one must be 51 degrees as well. So we'll label those as congruent, and we'll label the measure of the angles that we know. So we've got a lot of information here already. The thing that we can also use here is the fact that any angles that come together to make a line have to add up to 180 degrees because a line on its own is like halfway around the circle, it's 180 degrees. So for example, if we look at angle AZB, angle BZC, and angle CZD, these three angles together make this straight line, which means those three angles are supplementary, or they add up to 180 degrees. So we already know two of them, so we can find the third angle here by just subtracting these other two from 180. So we can do 180 minus 25 minus 51, and let's see if I can do this in my head here. 180 minus 25, that is 155, and then minus 51 is going to give us 104. So just like that, we know that angle CZD must be 104 degrees. And that also has a vertical angle, AZF, which is across from it, so that angle is also 104 degrees. So we can use these angle relationships in all kinds of ways to find these missing angles. It's also worth noting here that we could have used, rather than using this line here to find angle CZD, we could also have looked at it like this line, and this angle plus this angle plus this angle also add up to 180. Or we could have used this line and said this plus this equals 180. So really, anywhere you see a straight line, you've got that supplementary relationship where whatever angles combine to make that line have to add up to 180 degrees. So again, going back, here was our answer, 104. Okay, so now that we have every angle labeled that we possibly could have labeled in this diagram, let's go back to our original problem, which was to find angle CZE, which I'll outline in purple here. So like we said before, angle CZE is a combination of angle CZD and DZE. So if we want to know the larger angle, we just add those two together. So 104 plus 25 will give us our final answer of 129 degrees.